Welcome to the Ecommerce Marketing Podcast, the highly rated digital marketing podcast that provides weekly digital marketing tips and strategies from some of the world's top digital marketers and e-commerce entrepreneurs that will help you take your digital marketing to the next level. Sit back and enjoy this power-packed episode hosted by Arlen Robinson, who is an e-commerce entrepreneur and digital marketing expert with over 20 years of experience. Hey, e-commerce marketing podcast listener. Are you looking to increase traffic and sales to your website? You can do this by launching your own affiliate program. Just visit getosi.com and sign up for a free trial today. That's getosi.com. Now get ready to hear from your e-commerce marketing expert of the week as they drill down to give you details on marketing strategies that can help grow your business.
Welcome back to the E-commerce Marketing Podcast, everyone. I am your host, Arlen Robinson, and today we have a very special guest, JP Clement, who has had 30 years of experience under his belt, and he can help your audience in the areas of digital marketing, digital strategy, and product management. JP is the new CEO of Boomtime that was founded 3 digital marketing agencies and worked with numerous companies ranging from startups to global brands such as Johnson & Johnson and National Geographic. Welcome to the podcast, JP.
Thanks for having me, Arlen.
Yes, no problem. And definitely excited to talk to you today because we're going to be covering an area that is our audience members know that is near and dear to my heart, which is word of mouth marketing, having to do with referral marketing, affiliate marketing. It's a lot of what you guys do as well, along with a lot of other digital marketing activities. So super excited to dig deep into that. But before we do get into all of that, why don't you tell us a little bit more about your background and specifically how you got into what you're doing today?
Yes, so I've been doing marketing, as you said, for over 30 years. You can tell by my accent I was not born and raised in the US. I was from outside of the country, but I came here for business school and stayed and made my way into the marketing world because that's actually something that suits my personality probably better than what my classmates did, which was mostly went into the finance world. So I've been doing marketing for a long time. I started doing digital marketing in 1998, which feels like eons ago, like a couple of centuries ago. But I've done literally through my career any kind of marketing, both on the client side and the corporate side. So the client side and the agency side. I got into the agency business in 2006 for a company that was doing marketing. Social media marketing, basically, and influencer marketing before those things were even called that. In 2006, Facebook had just started to open up its platform to companies and to regular people, not just to students. And so it was really the beginning of the days of social media marketing. So I did a lot of that, and then I struck out on my own and started, as you mentioned, 3 marketing agencies all around digital marketing. I always was trying to find a way to make digital marketing agencies or marketing agencies in general more efficient and more scalable. Typically the way you scale a marketing agencies, you hire more people to do the work. To me, that's felt very inefficient. So I thought for years about how to scale and replicate digital marketing campaigns in an efficient manner. And then I came across Boomtime, and Boomtime had kind of found a way to do that by creating their own marketing as a service platform that they coded themselves. It's a proprietary software, and kind of, to me, it was kind of seeing the light and on how to do marketing very efficiently and very well at the same time, and keep the quality up while making it more affordable for small and medium-sized businesses. So that's why I'm here. Is kind of found this little company that was doing exactly what I'd been searching for 10 years.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for sharing that. And, like you said, before we started recording, creating a digital marketing agency and making it scalable it's a tough thing to do, because traditionally you're doing specific client work. You're working individually with different clients. You're meeting their needs. Although those needs are needs that a lot of businesses have, traditionally it's hard to replicate that because, a lot of businesses are different. Their needs are different. You're creating ad campaigns for specific niche, and it's like, it's hard to kind of come up with a concept where you can easily replicate that and make it more of a turnkey solution that works for a lot of businesses. So that's great work that you guys are doing to be able to find that particular niche where you've replicated a lot of the traditional digital marketing agencies into a solution. So that's great. And today, of course, we're talking about word of mouth marketing, which is definitely a huge hot topic, as I know you and I are aware of, because the main thing that I see these days is that buyers have a tough time in the marketplace just because of the amount of options that are available when you're looking to buy anything, whether it's a product or a service. I like to think of it as kind of buyer fatigue. When you're trying to buy something, there's a lot of research you got to do, and it's time consuming. You got to look through reviews, you got to do research, you got to email companies, you name it, you got to watch videos. And so if someone has been referred by somebody that they know or somebody that they trust, that alleviates typically all of that. And that's why a lot of times people are always looking for referrals, because they don't want to have to go through that whole process of the research, the due diligence, and they would rather trust a recommendation from their friends. And so I think that's why it's really exploded over the years. Now, with word of mouth marketing, really, what are some of the best, and I guess the latest best practices and tactics with regards to, a business enabling the best word of mouth marketing, for their customers? What's the general rule of thumb that you guys go by?
Yeah, so there's been a lot of new tools and tactics that have been emerging in the past few years. And word of mouth marketing can be defined a lot of different ways, but you said it right. I mean, word of mouth marketing and referrals are still today, after 10 years of my tracking those numbers, research shows that the most impactful or influential way for someone to choose your product or your brand or your services is a recommendation from someone that you trust. So there's been a whole industry, as you just mentioned, built around that fact that's been very, very, very steady across the years. And I think with every passing year, we have more and more tools that we can use to do word of mouth marketing and create those referrals. But I think lately, one of the things that we've been focusing on, at least at Boomtime, but really paying dividends for our clients, our customers, is reputation management. So reputation management is also pretty big. You can define it in many different ways, but at its core, it encompasses things like reviews, being on the right directories and the right places for people to find you, but that reputation management has become critical. As a corollary of people saying, hey, what influences me the most when I'm buying something is recommendations or referrals from people that I trust. People do trust and do read to a very, very large extent, which is a surprise, reviews on online reviews. So, it goes for e-commerce, it goes for businesses, for B2B businesses where people read reviews on Google and other places, Angie's List in some cases. So there's a bunch of directories that, that are very specific to certain industries. Managing your reputation in these areas and in these locations, online locations, obviously, is super critical and something that really can impact directly your business, because it impacts your word of mouth and your referrals. But it also it's a critical factor in how people make their decisions, and it's also something that a lot of companies don't really realize or don't know and don't pay a lot of attention to. So this is a place where and there are all kinds of tools that kind of companies that offer services where they can help you with, generating reviews, making sure your reviews are correctly, are done correctly, and answering those reviews and everything. But that's something that any company can really do themselves too, if they spend a little bit of time thinking about it and strategizing it. But it is a very important tool that we found in the past couple of years, basically. So that's one. I mean, influencer marketing is also pretty big for word of mouth. It's been big for a few years now. There's been a lot of there's been some issues with the FCC, that I said, if you're getting someone's giving a review to that is something that's been kind of paid for, or actually you've given them a product and they're keeping the product, they have to say there's a whole bunch of disclaimers that for influencers can have to abide by. But that's also, of course, a very efficient tool. There's also now, I've seen a lot of companies that do some kind of a service, software as a service, influencer marketing products, where they actually will find for minimal fee, they will put you in touch with the right people to promote your product, your services, your brand, whatnot. So that's something that we don't do influencer marketing, but there is all kinds of companies out there that do that. I've done a lot of it myself in the previous agencies, and it's it works very well. And it's I've done my own ROI calculations, and it's much more efficient and a much higher ROI than advertising. Again, for the same reason that we just talked about.
That is very true. I think the main thing with the influencer marketing is you're tapping into people that have a built-in audience really already, rather than kind of starting from ground zero with just kind of trying to announce your offering to the world. You're announcing it to people that have a trusted and loyal following, and that's why I think we've seen an explosion of these influencer marketing databases and networks and services. I like to think of those types of services as kind of matchmakers between brands and influencers. They're like a dating type of service where they match you up. If you're a brand, they match you up with the right influencers, or enable you to find the right influencers by categorizing influencers based on their niches, their following, their numbers, and all of that.
Yeah, they basically do the hard work for you and crunch all those numbers, because some influencers, I mean, some people might appear as valuable influencers, but if you do a deep dive into for instance, their profile, their social network, their social networks, you realize that they might have a lot of followers, but the source are very active. So which is that's a sign those people might not be a really good influencer after all. So those companies that you mentioned, they do all that background checking and work, and actually they can actually even rank people in your industry or for your niche in terms of whether they're more valuable or not. And it's a very useful service, and something I highly recommend for a lot of companies out there.
For sure. And so since, you've been, 30 years in the business dealing with digital marketing and marketing in general, that whatever campaigns that you dive into, whatever, things that you put out there, you're only going to take it so far as to what type of results it's pulling in. If something is not really hitting those right numbers and it's not getting you that proper return, you're gonna quickly pivot. And so with word of mouth marketing, what are the key metrics that are used to specifically measure the success of a word of mouth marketing campaign?
Yeah, this is a great question. I mean, analytics is one of my pet peeves and pet projects. I've been thinking about analytics for a long time, and you do have to track your campaigns to make sure that they're successful. And if you don't look at the numbers, you won't be able to say whether your campaign is doing well or not. And setting benchmarks at the beginning of the campaign is really critical too. So you know what you have to hit, and then you can adjust accordingly. And that's the beauty of digital marketing, is that we can measure pretty much everything. So as opposed to the good old days of traditional marketing, where it was much more difficult. But going back to your question, so one of the, obviously for word of mouth campaigns, reach is critical, depending on the size of your market. So how much of your potential market can you reach with that word of mouth? And tracking that reach is pretty critical. But reach in and of itself is not enough, because you can find a way to put your message in front of some people, but in the end, you don't necessarily, you don't know, but that's not enough. That message needs to be transmitted back to other people. That's the whole referral and word of mouth concept, right? So so looking at that, the virality, if you want to call it that, of your messaging and your campaign is also pretty critical. So tracking that, there are ways to do that. It's a little bit more complicated, but that can be done as well. The engagement is also goes with that virality. So it's kind of almost step one before even you look at virality, is like, is your campaign engaging your customers enough and in the right way, or your targets? Then they might be consumers, not just customers. So that's important. But ultimately, for me, it's your conversion rate, right? How many of the number of people that you reach is how many people are you going to capture? And capture might, that capture might be very different for different businesses, but that conversion is critical, because once you have a conversion, you can compute your cost per acquisition, which is, we should go to the conversion rate, but so. Cost per acquisition is something that I highly recommend or tell our clients to keep an eye on, because it's going to really drive the success of your campaigns, and in the end, you can find an influencer that has a very engaged audience that's right for you. You spending X, but they're not spending that many. Actually, not that many people actually end up doing whatever it is that you want them to do, and therefore your cost per acquisition skyrockets. And so the raw numbers, like, we're getting a lot of engagement, we're getting a lot of word of mouth, but in the end, you want these people to convert whatever your conversion is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. That's really the bottom line. But yeah, the ultimate conversion can vary depending on the business, because we have a lot of businesses that are, if you're in the e-commerce space, of course, you get a traditional direct-to-consumer sales on the website. That's, pretty straightforward. You're trying to convert as many as possible, get as many sales coming through from those referrals. But then at the same time, when you do have other, e-commerce or service-based businesses that may not do direct sales directly on the website, but they work more as they need to get leads, as many leads as possible, and convert those leads. And so
exactly,
and
the conversion can just be someone filling out an interest form, right? That's a conversion for some businesses.
Exactly,
right.
And then ultimately it's up to the business to decide how they want to incentivize that referral, whether it's for the lead or whether it's for the actual converted lead. And I've seen a bit of both. You have companies that are really just trying to get, their teams are in place to try to convert those leads, but they want to just try to drive as many leads as possible. So what they may do is just, reward people for the leads, not necessarily for the conversions. But, I've seen a little bit of both. It just depends on the space that you're in, and, what you can really, what you think you can motivate these affiliates and these influencers to do to get you to drive, conversions to your business.
Exactly.
I think at this point, our listeners and people in general really can see the real advantages to word of mouth marketing. We've spoken so much about, especially in this current climate that we're in, where it's so competitive, where people are really now relying a lot more on referrals from trusted sources, people that they know, or influencers. It really seems like there's so many advantages. But on the flip side, what are some disadvantages to word of mouth marketing compared to other types of marketing campaigns that you've seen and that you work with?
So there are a few disadvantages to word of mouth marketing, but for me, one of the biggest challenges when we talk to our clients about word of mouth marketing is the amount of time that it takes to create that that word of mouth. So I always like use the analogy of a plant or planting a seed, right? So the content we create and the things we do for you is planting that seed, but then we have to water the seed with a lot of other techniques and tactics for digital within digital marketing, and then that seed will grow, and become a plant that will bear fruits, and those fruits are that word of mouth, those conversions, right? But that takes a while. It's not something that you can like turn it on like this. It's there are a lot of steps that you have to follow to get there, and those steps take some time. So when we get a client that says, hey, can you do this for me? I need results in 3 weeks. We're like, well, there are things we can do, but word of mouth will not necessarily get you there in that amount of time.
Right.
Now, talking about a 3-month project or a 6-month project, yes, that would definitely work. So I think that's something that has to be kept in mind with word of mouth marketing is that life cycle of a word of mouth marketing campaign is much lengthier than just buying some keywords on Google Ads, right, and doing it that way.
Yeah, very true. Definitely takes time, to get the word to spread and for it to become viral, for people to refer others, and that for really to try to spread. I mean, the only virality that I have seen with word of mouth marketing campaigns is if you really kind of land of big fish, so to speak, where you've got a big high-powered influencer that has a really large audience or following, and that's really engaging. And if they put something out about your particular brand, there's a chance that, of course, you could get a large spike in your sales and direct traffic. So that's one case where the virality can really explode overnight, really.
Yeah, and you can strike gold, as you just mentioned. Sometimes you have the right message at the right time with the right influencer, for instance, and that and things catch fire, right? And that works. But I think, as a rule of thumb, I think telling people that we have to take our time to make sure this works is probably a better recommendation.
Yeah, definitely. Well, as we get ready to wrap things up, I'm always a huge advocate of learning from what other successful companies have done. So I wanted to kind of pick your brain and see what companies that you've worked with or you're just familiar with in general that have had a lot of success with word of mouth marketing that you can highlight.
Oh wow, that's a tough question. Yeah, so we work as mostly in the B2B space, but word of mouth marketing actually does work in B2B marketing for B2B companies. Sorry, and so yeah, we've done some really powerful LinkedIn campaigns. So where basically we capture leads via LinkedIn, because of course B2B companies very well represented on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is kind of their world as opposed to Facebook or Instagram or Twitter for B2C companies. So we've had some really good success with companies in very niche markets and creating like a lot of value. So you will not know who those companies are, but we have some ways of generating a ton of leads via basically virality, the virality that you can get on LinkedIn by creating the right content, connecting with the right people, so having the right type of searches. And you can LinkedIn is a world in and of itself. There's a lot of things that you can do there as a B2B company to get that word of mouth going and becoming So actually, we turn our clients into their own thought leaders and influencers themselves. We don't rely a lot on other influencers to drive traffic to them. We actually build them into those kinds of people themselves and build their audience and build their thought leadership and all that kind of stuff. So we work with companies like the Transrail Group in Canada, and they've seen incredible value from what we've been doing for them through those LinkedIn kind of campaigns that we manage for them.
Okay, great. Well, yeah, thank you for highlighting that. I appreciate it. And, that just goes to show that, the businesses these days do have the power to, become their own best advocates. A lot of times, a lot of businesses don't really, look at their own networks and the ability for them to get a message spread virally. So it can definitely be done. You don't necessarily always have to rely on outside sources. So I'm glad you pointed that out. And that's definitely a great testimony to word of mouth marketing. Well, I've definitely learned a lot, JP, and I definitely really appreciate you coming on the podcast because, of course, this is a topic that's near and dear to my heart. And, a lot of our listeners are looking for ways and cost-effective ways, that is, to, spread their message, and word of mouth marketing is definitely one way to do it. But before I let you go, I always like to switch gears here and so our audience members can get to know you just a little bit better. So if you have one closing fun fact that you don't mind sharing that you think our audience would be interested to know about yourself.
Yeah, so totally not business related, but I love biking, bicycles, like push bikes, as the like Australian friends call them. So I've done a lot of biking in my life, mountain biking, road riding, and a bunch of other things. I've competed and pretty successfully too. Back when I was younger and didn't have to run business. Had more time for biking, but I taught myself how to build bike wheels and from scratch. So buy the rim, buy the spokes, and all that. And I've always been fascinated by wheels, and there is a whole history about how to make wheels, and it's a rabbit hole that's easy for like me to fall into. But I build my own bike wheels.
Wow. Basically. Okay. That's definitely a unique fun fact. I don't think I've heard that before. I didn't know that was such a thing, to build your own bike wheels. But I mean, it kind of makes sense. Especially, I know a lot of people that do biking where I am in Florida, and they kind of get into the maintenance of it and everything. But I hadn't heard somebody take it to the level where they're creating their own wheels. I know a lot of times, people customize the bikes with different unique wheels, wider wheels, and all of that. But to make them, that's good, man. Interesting. And thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it.
Of course.
But lastly, before we let you go, if any of our listeners want to reach out to you and pick your brain any more about word of mouth marketing or anything digital marketing, what is the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Yeah, so you can find me on LinkedIn. Obviously, I spend a lot of time there. JP Clement, easy to find me on LinkedIn. There's not that many with that name, so you'll find me. And then the other way is, of course, to go to our website, boomtime.com, boomtime.com. We also do our own podcast, so maybe I can return the favor and have you on a 1 hour podcast.
Sure.
We try to tell people about digital marketing. We also write a lot of content to help people with digital marketing. They don't have to become our client. They can access that freely on our website. So there's a lot. It's a good way to get in touch with us. And there's a lot of, which I think is pretty good information, if I say so myself, on our website.
Okay, great. Well, that's awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that. And thank you for that opportunity. I would love to be on your guys' podcast as well. And we'll definitely talk about that at some other time. But thanks again. I recommend all of our listeners that are interested in, taking their business to the next level and their digital marketing efforts to the next level to reach out to you to see how you guys can help them out. And thanks again for joining us today, JP, on the Ecommerce Marketing Podcast.
Great. Thanks a lot, Arlen.
Thank you for listening to the Ecommerce Marketing Podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and share it with everyone you know. Are you looking to take your digital marketing to the next level but are tired of wading through countless YouTube videos with unproven and untrusted marketing strategies? Well, we have the answer for you. The More Sales Every Month online digital marketing course. In this information-packed course, you will learn effective keyword research, link building, content marketing, and much more to attract and convert your site visitors into paying customers. Just go to moresaleseverymonth.com and sign up today for a low one-time fee. In addition to this power-packed course, if you would like to get access to a growing repository of digital marketing articles, PDFs, and ebooks, check out getosi.com/resources and opt in to get full access to our library of priceless marketing information to help you take your digital marketing to the next level.